Good day. This is the Grumpy Baker. Today we are making a bread that you will make on the stovetop. Yes, I said stovetop, not in the oven, on the stovetop. And it's one of my sugar-free breads that turns out crusty and very good. So, you need 1.5 cups of warm water, 1 tablespoon of yeast. Put that in the water. Then, you need 3 cups of flour. So, all you do is just stir it, or see it's starting to go foamy. Okay? That's what you want. It takes that long. That's it. Okay? And you can use whole wheat if you want. You can make it a 5 grain if you want. But it's 3 cups of flour, white. And don't drop the cup in the water. Well, I didn't. And 1 tablespoon of salt. And if my assistant, my little elf, will give me my spatula. So now, all you do is mix it around. There is no kneading with this recipe. It's very simple, very easy to use. It takes about 2 minutes. Give me a little more water, please. Sometimes flour, depending if it's cold or who milled it, takes usually a little more water or a little less. You'll see that once you start mixing it. Okay? Don't panic. This bread is foolproof. And I mean foolproof. So, like I said, if it's a little dry, just a little bit of water here and there and everywhere. You want it a little. It's not like a loaf of bread when you're making a loaf and it's stiff and compact. Okay, you don't want that. That's not this type of bread. This just gets mixed till it's all mixed in. And then it looks like this. See? Looks like a cake mix that's thick. Now, what you're going to do is let that sit for a half an hour to 40 minutes, depending on how warm your house is and how warm the water was. And we'll be right back as soon as it proofs. As you can see, our dough has doubled in size, so I get a little flour on my hands. I put it on the parchment paper so that it's easier to, you just form it. It doesn't have to look pretty. Okay? And that's it. Now, for the pot. So the bread's ready to go, which is fine. We can set that aside. For the pot, the first thing you do, you can use an ordinary pot, but then what you do is you coat the bottom in salt. That will stop the pot, from burning. Just like so, see? Now, what you want to do, I use these covers because they're really fit in there. So you put one, it's just so the bread doesn't hit the bottom of the pot in all that salt. And you turn the other upside. You can get one of those little grates that go in there also. Okay, so now you want to heat the pot before you put the bread in. So I will be right back. I just got to turn this on the stove and heat it up. Sorry about that. I could have followed you, but I mean, you could have followed me to the stove, but while that's, like I said, while that's getting warm, you can take a bit of water and brush. First, get a really good brush. Okay, don't buy these things. They don't hold water. They don't hold nothing. But you just go like that, put some water on it. That'll help get it crust, a bit of a crust. Normally, when you make this bread and you put it in the oven, you would put a pan of water in the oven with it. But since we're doing it on a stovetop, well, that's a different story. You will just put a bit of water on it and it will help crust it up. Also, I've had a few people ask me a few things about flour. Okay, like I said earlier, flour, there's particular things you can do with the flour. Anyways, I will tell you in a moment. My pot's hot. So, the pot is hot. Do not forget that. Okay? You don't want good solid lid. Okay. So like I said, then you just drop it in on top of that piece you had. Don't touch the pot, whatever you do. You'll regret it. Well, these cool down quick. Then you want to put the lid back on. Mine snaps on. Now, on the stove, you want to have it at medium low. For this type of stove, it would go around between 4 and 3 on the dial. If it was gas, it would be 2. Because gas, well, of course, is warmer. Okay? Then you would put this on for 40 minutes. Okay? But then you can keep checking it over time. Okay? Now, back to the flour. Sorry about that. So, when you're making pastry, they call it pastry flour. When you make bread in the machines, that's bread flour. Do not use pastry flour and bread flour to make homemade bread. It's heavy. Okay? Use all-purpose flour when you're making breads, buns, rolls, anything. Okay? When you're making cinnamon buns, turnovers, Danish, any kind of pastry, you use pastry flour. It's sort of a mix between the two. It's heavier, but it makes the pastry, gives it more elasticity. Ooh, that's a tough word. So it makes it so that when it puffs and when it bakes, it doesn't crack. If you can use bread flour, white flour to make puff pastries, but it turns out better if you use pastry flour because of the acids in it that this doesn't have. What it does is it proofs better. It comes up better because there is no yeast in puff pastry. Okay. Now there's 2 types of puff pastry. There's a Danish puff, which has yeast, and a puff pastry that you can use for turnovers or making pigs in a blanket or any type of dessert that uses just puff pastry. And those are the differences. I know it's a little confusing, but just stick to the rule. If you're making pastry, puff pastry. If you're making bread in the machine, use the bread flour for the machine. And if you're making homemade bread, use ordinary enriched flour. Okay? And as soon as this is baked, we will be right back. Thank you. So our bread is off the stove. And as you can see, it looks a little different, but it is still made on the stove. Okay, it's still a nice loaf of bread. It's a little flatter, okay, but it's still, listen, still crunchy, very crusty, okay? And that's about it for today. Now, this kind of, a gas stove or a burner stove, element stove, work very good. These induction stoves that have the glass flat tops, they do not work. I should tell you that up front because I forgot to tell you. Okay? They do not work. It has to be either a gas or element. You know, the little round element. Okay, these induction stoves with the glass top, it doesn't work because you can't control the constant heat. And so, that's it for today. I would like to leave you with something to think about. So, if we call a fly because he buzzes around, and now, if he loses his wings, or if we take them off, rip them off, do we call him a walk? Because he certainly can't fly. Think about that. And have a nice day, but not